1, 2, 3.
Hello everyone! Welcome back to Ana Dialogue, the dialogue on analog music reproduction. As you people know, who follow me for the last couple of years at least, knows that every year I do a special video where I present the top records, or at least, in my opinion, a blend between objective, commonly considered top, and something a little more on my own taste. In any case, top 10 records, rock records of a specific year. I started from 1970, we have 71, 72, and today we're doing 73. If you want to catch up with the other videos, you're going to find all the links in the video description. In any case, start with this one. This is 1970. Clearly, here today, it's 2023, so we have the 50th anniversary of all these titles I'm going to present. So, it is a special year because, just preparing this video, I've noticed that there is a huge, massive quantity of incredible records in jazz, in soul, in funk, but clearly also in pop and rock. Much more than 1972. I mean, there's just an explosion in creativity and different kinds, melanges, blendings. It's just, I think it's the maturity phase starting in 1973 of the 1970s sound, music, of those artists that started in the end of the 60s and just exploded at this point. Obviously, as you know, these are going to be only 10 records, but there's so many that a lot of people are going to get annoyed, I know, because they're not going to see their favorite title here in the list. I will put an extra small list and I will add the ones you will signal in the comments, okay? So you're part of this. Write down what is your top record that clearly isn't present in the video, and I will add it to this extra list that you're going to find in the video description. You already can see I think you can see them, 3 records behind me, which are not going to be in here, but I did want it to kind of display them. And my last recommendation, you know that unfortunately YouTube may block the video. So if I'm going to present an album, a track, and you're not going to hear anything because every little title is going to have its own needle drop and I'm going to listen along with you, that means that I had to cut it out, okay? Sorry about that. It's not my fault, as you can imagine. Okay, let's jump in and let's start with the first title. The first title is Led Zeppelin, House of the Holy. Oh, yes. As you know, I'm a great fan of Led. They cannot not be in a list, obviously. And this is a special moment for the band. As we were seeing, almost a different phase, in fact, starts. We don't have the Roman letters. Up until now, they were using 1, 2, 3, 4. This is different. And we have this very strange but very cool album cover, which was done with these 2 kids. Actually, it's always the same 2 kids, brother and sister, repeated on this causeway, this incredible scenery, which was then hand painted by the photographer. So it's very strange, and also the content actually is very strange because we find different types of sounds, funky, reggae. So there is a departure from what we have listened to Led Zeppelin up until now. This is a special edition because it's part of the, unfortunately, not present anymore, Classic Records, the 200-gram QX SVP, which is hardly regarded among audiophiles. I never was a big fan of these, which I got these in the 90s, end of the 90s, I think. But they're highly sought after, actually. 100% analog, although a few releases weren't, but I don't think this is the case. And I'll just put, as you know, for all these releases, I'll just put the first track or something like that, okay? No time to go and hunt for a specific title. Okay, let's just put the first track.
the springtime of my loving, the second season I am to know. You are the sunlight in my growing.
Amazing, as you can imagine. Please explore. Don't stop on the surface. Now that we are living in a phase where you just have to turn on YouTube or Spotify, wherever it is, and you can really understand if you like it. But I'm sure who's watching this video perfectly knows all of this stuff. Okay, the next album, once again, is a maturation phase for the band in question, which is Steely Dan, with their album Countdown to Ecstasy. Now, this is an original pressing, first edition US, that we're going to listen. And here, in contrast with the prior album, the first album, this is the second one, here we have Donald Fagen singing on all tracks practically. Instead, in the other one, there was David Palmer, who left the band. And already in the first, but especially here, you really start to hear the polishing, the care, the technical care and love that Walter Becker and Donald Fagen put in their releases, in their creations. Probably nobody was so good from an artistic point of view and an engineering. Incredible. Okay, let's start. And fortunately, the first track is at least my preferred among all. Bodhisattva. Don't stop there. Okay. You can already see this is an original pressing. I'm recording clearly everything here on the computer, and I can see the sound wave is small instead of the prior one, which was, well, still out of the 90s, but not an original release. Compression. Okay. Let's proceed now with our third release. And the next album is Quadrophenia by The Who. Now, the title refers to the four sides because this is a double album, okay? But it was also supposed to be released in quadrophonic sound, but in the end, it didn't take place. And this is probably the masterpiece of Pete Townshend. I mean, he is behind the concept, because this is a concept album, a rock opera, rock symphony, as he said, following the young adult Jimmy through his life, his career, which starts to grow, reach a maturity. That's another concept here. In fact, after the masterpiece of Who's Next that came before this is a special album which clearly reminds about Tommy, which Tommy was in the 60s, 69, but it had a different sound. Here you clearly hear that you are in a new phase. They also used new instruments like the Moog and this incredible, huge synthesizer, which was brand new at that time, and that Pete Townshend had in his at his home, the ARP 2500, which could not be moved, otherwise it would have gone out of tune. So he had to go back home, record certain things, bring them back. As you know, it was the time of magnetic tape, so it wasn't that easy to have the tracks to add in the mix. So it was a nightmare. In fact, this is an album that stressed a lot the band. Even the other components did not fully understand, they say, the genius, the concept of Pete Townshend. It was so difficult, actually, that after the first times they did this live, they just did a few parts. They left aside the whole album. It was too complicated to do. So they just dropped it. And from there on, they just did a few parts. There's a lot of sounds here. That's the cool part. I mean, there's so much. Also, the noise effects, like the C in the beginning, is so cool, fantastic. It's not one of my favorites, I must admit. I've never been a great fan of rock operas, but this is a special release. Starting from this beautiful cover with the Vespa, actually, very Italian. Now, this is an Italian original pressing, but nothing special. Little noisy, little dirty, unfortunately. In any case, let's put a little bit of the beginning, and then I'll skip ahead, just little parts here and there. Okay, let's proceed now with our fourth album. And we're, once again, sorry I'm repeating myself, going in a new phase for the artist we're about to see. This is the sixth album of who? David Bowie with Alladin Sane. Oh, yes. I know I almost always put David, but David did do incredible things each year, almost each year of the 70s, and I could not leave him out. With this very iconic cover with the photograph by Brian Duffy. There's also other shots you can find around with his eyes open, but they choose this one where we have this bolt here in the middle of his face, almost as he's meditating, concentrating. And he is starting to leave, the departure from the glam rock he created, his character, going towards more, which is going to take place in the newer album after this, towards the White Duke, the cocaine period, unfortunately. But so we are in the middle of a phase here. We're going through a big difference in his life, and things are changing. He was greatly influenced by America. In fact, he was mainly focused extremely attracted to America, and he wrote this actually almost always, always also in the UK clearly, but also in the US while he was touring for his prior work. And he did other things in this period, like for example, he produced Transformer for Lou Reed, or he did the mix for Iggy and the Stooges, Iggy Pop and the Stooges, for Raw Power, which is another album that I'm not going to include in this top 10. I'm going to say this right from the start, but it should be. I mean, that's an iconic, true rock album. Okay, so that's also going to be here below in the list. Okay, let's listen to the first track here.
Time, he's waiting in the wings. He speaks of senseless things. His script is you and me. Boy, time, he flexes like a whore, falls wanking to the floor. His trick is you and me. Boy, time, in quaaludes and red wine, demanding Billy.
Forgot to mention the word pun of the title of the album, Alladin Sane, which is in reality Alad Insane, connected to what we said before. Okay, let's proceed now with our next artist. Okay, so let's proceed now with our fifth album, and we are going to touch now a little bit of Southern rock, which I must admit there's a lot of it in 1973. Incredible albums, clearly coming from the US, we're talking, that have that special country rock, mainly Southern rock taste that I adore. And this is a debut album which I deeply love. I deeply love the artists. Who am I talking about? Don't kill me for butchering the name, which is always something difficult to say. Lynyrd Skynyrd, or as we would say in Italy, Lynyrd Skynyrd, which also has the correct way how to pronounce it below as part of the title, which is something that fixed in your mind this album and them. I would suppose, since it's so difficult, sometimes you would tend to forget. Instead, this worked the other way around, and they were just touring around in Florida. They came out of Jacksonville. Most of the repertoire here of the program comes from their live sessions, actually. And it was Al Cooper who discovered them, and they recorded this in just a few sessions in Jacksonville, in fact. And Al Cooper didn't want Simple Man inside, which is one of the most famous tracks of Lynyrd Skynyrd, actually. So they put him out. The legend goes that they carried him out, left him in the car because they wanted to put Simple Man inside in this record, which I must admit that they were completely right there.
One, two,
Mama told me when I was young, who sat beside me, my only son, and listen closely to what I say.
What an album. What a group. Unfortunately, completely devastated only 3 years after, when their plane crashed, because then it didn't have enough gasoline. Then they went on. Somebody survived. Obviously, we lost Ronnie Van Zant. So clearly, I mean, the core of them, their sound did change after that, obviously. Okay, let's proceed now with another taste, with that which I would say still influenced by those southern, here more California type of rock. Huge, massive hit inside, but the album is just as good. Oh, almost. I mean, the hit is up here, clearly. Everyone knows it. Who am I talking about? The Doobie Brothers, The Captain and Me. Oh, yes. And this, which I thought for years that this bridge was under construction, actually is a bridge devastated by the earthquake that struck San Francisco, and not San Francisco, the area where they took this shot, which is very strange. Even here, once again, even here, we have the maturity of the group. They found their sound. And they're also highlighting this, they say, with the way they propose themselves, all nicely dressed, with this very strange, actually, type of concept, of picture. But the sound is all there. I mean, that special sound of the 70s, with that southern, even though here we are not completely in the south of the U.S., just gives that special taste to these records that I could never ever let them go. I mean, I just have to go back to these every once in a while. They're so good. Okay, let's start now with just the first one. Yep. I must admit, though, that I do like also a lot their first album. Very good. Okay, let's proceed now to our next album. We're back in the UK. 5th studio album. Recorded during their prior tour. They weren't that convinced maybe in the beginning, but then it turned out to be, once again, probably going to change the title of the video, their point of maturity. Yes, what am I talking about? Genesis selling England by the pound. And let's listen immediately something. And this, for the first time, we're going a little beyond what is normal prog, because this is mainly a prog album. But there's also a protest ongoing already from the title, if you think about it, since there was a criticism towards this culture invasion by America. So they were highlighting this with this title and the lyrics also in a few passages in some of the songs. So that's something new, actually. But there are also those other typical fantasy elements that we find in prog, and the sounds also. So let's listen to the first track.
Can you tell me where my country lies? Said the uniform to his true love's eyes. It lies with me, cried the Queen of Maybe. For her merchandise he traded in his prize. Paper late, cried a voice in the crowd. Old man dies, the note he left was signed Old Father Thames. It seems he's drowned, selling England by the pound. Citizens of hope and glory, time goes by, it's the time of your life. Easy now, sit you down, chewing through your wimpy dreams. They eat without a sound, digesting England by the pound. Young man says you are what you eat well.
Speaking about prog, I highly recommend something that was about to put in this top 10, but I will do a special dedicated video on prog. Arbeit macht frei from Area. I think you can see it, which is an Italian band who did incredible stuff. Quite experimental, not for everyone, as Brain Salad Surgery. Let's proceed now with our next album. Another debut album from the US, from someone that is probably among the most famous here, I would say, which changed his sound. This first album is something different, which in fact the fans maybe wouldn't choose as one of their favorites, but I think it's very special. What am I talking about? Greetings from Asbury Park, Bruce Springsteen. And for those of you who have the CD, you don't have this. The postcard effect. Ha-ha! Which is something quite different. I mean, from, I don't know. I wouldn't choose this as a debut thing. But it's nice. It's cool. See? It's just like a postcard inside. Very cool. And I'm not a big fan of Bruce, I must admit. But this is soulful, true, honest, with all its experience, what he was living on the streets. I mean, it just has a special sound, in my opinion. And even the way this was born, I mean, together with Mike Apple, they really struggled to bring this home. I mean, they had to record it with just a a very low budget. They had to choose if do the songs with the band or just as a standalone solo guy, and in the end they did 5 and 5. And it was refused by the president of Colombia, actually. He didn't want him to produce it, to distribute it, because he was missing a hit. So what did Bruce do? He went home and he wrote Blind by the Light and Spirit in the Dark, which is, Blind by the Light, one of the most famous songs of his. Incredible. Let's listen to it.
Madman drummers, bombers, and Indians in the summer with a teenage diplomat. In the dumps with the mumps as the adolescent pumps his way into his hat. With a boulder on my shoulder, feeling kinda older, I trip the merry-go-round. With this very unpleasing sneezing and wheezing, the calliope crashed to the ground. Some old hot hat shot was heading for a hot spot, snapping his fingers, clapping his hands. And some flesh bomb mascot was tied to a lover's knot with a whatnot in her hand. And now young Scott with a slingshot finally found a tender spot and throws his lover in the sand. And some bloodshot forget-me-not whisper daddies with an earshot save the buckshot, turn up the band. And she was blinded by a light, oh, cut loose like a deuce, another runner in the night. Blinded by the light, she got down.
Well, sorry for the jump. Okay. This video is going to be too long. Let's proceed. And our next artist, I must admit that I don't own that many records of him. Probably my fault, my bad. I should explore more, but I had to put this album. Cannot be mentioned here in this top 10, which is not a top 10 once again. Okay, just a list of good rock classics that had to be on this video. And what am I talking about? Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And this is a collection of different stuff, truly rock and roll. I mean, for those of you who know the last Elton John coming from the 80s, 90s up until now, no. Completely different. I mean, his 70s phase was very rock and roll. Rock, actually. Some rock and roll, but rock. And it's incredible the story behind this, because this practically was written in less than 2 weeks by Bernie Taupman. Once again, sorry if I'm butchering the names, but that's how I pronounce it. And he is behind, he's always been together with Elton in producing, in writing the lyrics, while Elton John was behind the rhythms. And they did this practically in, just as I said, a few weeks in Kingston, in Jamaica, because also the Rolling Stones did another fundamental record, which is not on the list, which should be Goat's Head Soup. They wanted to do the same thing, but then they had to move out because they had some problems, political problems in the region, in the country. So they went to France to record it. A very strange way how this record was born. But it's a classic. I'll just put a few seconds of the first track. Okay. And we finally reached the end with our last album, which I'm sure everyone perfectly knows. The big absence. What else could it be if not The Dark Side of the Moon? Pink Floyd. No need of presentation. I actually did a video with all the different formats you can imagine, even a copy of the master tape. Here is a link. Take a look at that. That was fun. Cassettes, different types of vinyl and different editions and things like that. This is a first edition, but like a second repress or something like that. So not the blue triangle one, but pretty close, which I also presented in that video. So let's just gonna put that and say goodbye to all of you. One of the greatest albums of all time.
Well guys, if you're enjoying my videos and you're enjoying my channel, please consider to subscribe by clicking the black and white logo here below. Also, don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll never miss an episode and you will become a true member of the analog community.